Tandem Nomads, episode 273. Your marketing strategy doesn't have to be complex and rocket science to work for you. Make it work for you. Hello, Nomad Nation. Welcome to Tandem Nomads, the podcast show and entrepreneurship platform where you can find great inspiration and resources to grow a successful portable business that fits to your lifestyle and to your needs. This is your host, Emel Deregi. I'm a business and marketing coach and the founder of Tandem Nomads. Today's episode is part of the Slow Challenge series, a series of episodes where I give you some tips about how to make sure to build a business that is aligned with your own rhythm and the energy or the bandwidth that you have. I truly believe that a portable business is supposed to bring you the flexibility that you need, and sometimes you even need more flexibility than usual for various reasons. And that's what the whole Slow Challenge is about. It's about helping you make it work for you. If you have already signed up to the Slow Challenge, you should have already received by email all the resources related to this episode and the previous ones. But if you haven't yet, and you do want to work on your business at your own rhythm and make those little tweaks that will help you make things easier for you, then make sure to go to the show notes of this episode where I share with you the workbook that goes with the tips I will share with you today. When you download that workbook, you will also automatically receive all the information of how to access all the resources related to the Slow Challenge. However, the goal here is to avoid that you get overwhelmed. So simply focus on the tips that I share with you in this episode and on the workbook that I share with you in this episode. And then you can, if you feel like it, move to the previous tips or not, as you wish. I really made sure that every single episode can work on its own so you can still move forward no matter how much you want to do in your business. So to get your workbook, go to tandemnomads.com/273 and download it right there. Today, I want to talk to you about your marketing strategies. I know that often when we hear about marketing strategies, we think often about all these complicated and complex strategies that can feel very, very overwhelming. And I want to let you know that things can be much easier and simpler than you think. Because at the end of the day, marketing is simply about knowing where your ideal client is and how you enter into a relationship with that ideal client. That's all you need to do. You need to understand where is your ideal client and how you enter a relationship with this type of client. But also, you want to look at the different marketing strategies that exist and what would work for you in terms of bandwidth, in terms of energy, in terms of comfort zone. Obviously, as an entrepreneur, you always want to stretch your comfort zone, right? But sometimes it's not possible. Sometimes you just need to do the bare minimum. So for that, you need to know yourself really well and know what works for you and not necessary for others. So I'm going to give you some tips about the different marketing strategies that exist so that you can know which ones feel good to you. But before I get there, I want to insist on one big mistake that I see a lot of people and solo entrepreneurs and small business owners do. Most of them confuse their marketing strategy with their content strategy. Very often, for example, when I ask people, what are your marketing strategies? They will tell me, for example, social media and blogging. Well, these are the two things where there's a huge nuance to have. Let me start from the beginning. Your marketing strategy is about getting visibility. It's about knowing where your ideal client is and getting exposure to that ideal client so that you can enter a relationship with them, as I said previously. So visibility is about people seeing you and you seeing them so that you can do what it takes to enter a relationship with them. Only then comes your content strategy, such as blogging or doing videos or podcasting. And your content strategy is about nurturing that relationship and becoming the go-to expert in your field so that you can give a taster of your expertise or of your product or your service before people get to make the decision on whether they want to buy from you or not. Your content is also what will create trust and what will create familiarity and what will help people get more knowledge and information about what you offer so that they can be comfortable with their decision. In fact, when you're blogging, you're doing videos, or you have a podcast show, you need to find people to actually listen to your podcast, watch your video, and read your blog. Just having your blog or your videos out there on your website or your social media is not enough to get what is called eyeballs on your content. I hate the word eyeballs, but this is the technical term to just say get people to see your content, right? So for people to find your content and benefit from it, you need to have clear strategies to get more visibility and then get people to see your content and learn from it, and therefore build a relationship and trust with you. And that is why your marketing strategy is something different from your content strategy. And basically, your marketing strategy is about knowing what are all the other platforms and the other audiences that you can get access to so that you can get that visibility and build your own audience from there. So today's episode is not about your content strategy. Today's episode is focused on your visibility. How do you get exposure to your ideal client? And for that to work, the first step is to be very clear about who is that ideal client. That is where everything starts. And if by any chance you have a bigger business where you have different segments, you need to be very clear about who is the ideal client for each of your segments. If you're trying to target everybody, you will target and reach nobody. So be very clear, because basically, when you have your ideal client really clarified, then you'll have to have a specific marketing strategy for that client. And if you have multiple segments, you will need to do the same exercise of this episode for each one of your segments, because each segment of type of client will need its own marketing strategy. And that is why I often advise that if you're overwhelmed in your business, if you can't keep up with everything, then reduce that load by focusing on one specific niche, master it, make it work for you, and once things are smooth and working, then you can move on to the next segments. But focus on one place first, and then as you grow, as things get better, then you can expand your marketing strategies to the other segments. Then the second step is to choose what marketing strategies work for you. So here, it's a bit of a yin and a yang. First of all, it's about listening to your body and listening to what are the areas where you're comfortable. What are the areas where you feel like it's easy for you to implement those marketing strategies? And here I have a side note. If you've never done that, if you don't know what works for you, well, the simplest way to know is by starting somewhere. Just start experimenting, right? And then you will know as you experiment what works for you. But as you experiment, start for just a couple of strategies, test them out, and then if that doesn't work, then proactively make the changes you need instead of freezing and just dropping the ball. So to help you make those decisions of what is your ideal strategies, I'm going to list them for you. I'm going to basically list to you the most common strategies that exist for solo entrepreneurs and small business owners. Most of these are very useful, especially for service business owners, but I think that you could also use them for product-based businesses. And all the strategies that I will mention for you today will be listed in the workbook of this episode on tandemnomads.com/273. All you have to do in this workbook is to go through this list and check the box of those that you will choose to follow to attract your ideal client and get visibility with this ideal client. So the first marketing strategy is very basic and simple and from old ancient times, which is networking. We tend to forget the power of networking. And obviously, as our time changed, as things are going more online and sometimes hybrid, we also forget that what we're doing even online is networking. So whether you choose to network online or in the physical and offline world, know that this is a proactive strategy for you to consider. If you're good and feel great about going with meeting people and love to exchange with people, then go for it and focus on networking as your main strategy. And to network in the effective places, you need to know where is your ideal client spending time and engaging with others. And by the way, this is the case for every one of the strategies I will share with you. So if you don't know where is your ideal client spending time, you need to research that. And I have a whole episode giving you some insights and guidance on how to do the market research to figure out where is your ideal client. So I will put it in the show notes of this episode, as well as in the workbook that goes with this episode. But to keep it very simple, I'd like you to start very intuitively, but what you already intuitively know about your ideal client. Before even you go into the market research, just list the places that you already know. There is a big chance that you already know where is your ideal client, but that you are also very similar to your ideal client. So if you don't know, think about you. If you're very similar to your ideal client, what are the places where you engage? But to go back to networking, here are the 3 different areas where you can focus in understanding what are the right places for you to network. The first one, it can seem very obvious, but I'm going to still say it and highlight it, is the organizations, associations, and clubs that exist with your ideal clients. The second one is the events, webinars, or physical, or anything where people gather at a specific time to consume a certain type of content or to do a certain activity. And finally, social media. So social media is a networking tool. Before being a place for you to advertise your content and your offers and your product and your services. If you want your social media to work, spend time connecting on other people's accounts instead of wanting people to look at your own content. This is the key for your social media to work. If you want to learn more about this, I will as well share some more resources into how you can use social media effectively. But the biggest message that I want you to understand here, don't confuse social media as a place to get visibility versus a place to share your content. Just like I talked about before, when you post your articles or your insights or your pictures on social media, that's not about getting visibility. That's about nurturing people with insightful content. If you want to get visibility on social media, you need to get out of your own content and out of your own account to start reaching out to people in other places and creating those relationships. For example, in Facebook groups, LinkedIn groups, or engaging in the comments of the posts of your ideal clients, or also by DMing your ideal clients and building relationship with them right there. That's completely different from posting your content on social media and then ghosting your account, expecting that people will come and find you. However, and this is where it gets a little complicated, so bear with me here. When you are paying to boost your content, when you're paying Facebook ads or Instagram ads, that is a marketing strategy itself that's completely different from networking, and I will talk about it a bit later. All right, then comes the second marketing strategy, which is strategic partnerships. Strategic partnerships is when you partner with somebody who has the same audience than you, but a completely different or complementary offer or product than yours. For example, if you're a yoga teacher, you might also be able to sell yoga mats. So you can build a strategic partnership with a person who is selling yoga mats and make revenue of it. Or for that person who's selling a yoga mat, you are their strategic partnerships to find clients. So think about who in your industry could be a great strategic partnership that you can bring clients either to each other or on one direction, and that's okay. Basically, one of the types of strategic partnerships is affiliate partnerships, is when you get a percentage of the sales when you bring a client to that partner and vice versa. Which is a little bit similar to the third strategy, referrals. So referrals are not specifically people who have an audience or who are in business. Referrals are people who have known you or experimented your product or service, or simply who want to support and encourage your business for a reason or another. So it doesn't always have to be a partner. For example, if you have clients that are really happy with your product or service, you can ask them to refer you. You can either do it by simply asking, or you can put a referral system in place. For example, just make it up. If you're a hairdresser, you can have a coupon for every client that a client brings you. You can give them a certain percentage discount on their next haircut. So this is a little bit of a type of referral that you can think of that's quite similar to strategic partnerships, but a little bit different in the sense that strategic partnerships are really with other people who have a business and a similar audience than yours, but a different product or service to sell. The fourth marketing strategy that's really common and that I personally really love is speaking engagements. It's when you speak in other events to showcase your expertise. That is the best way to give value to an audience and show them what are you all about and get people familiar with your style and what you do. So this is particularly useful when you have a service-based business, but also seen some product-based businesses who have been doing great with speaking engagements. The fifth strategy is PR. So PR is all about free media exposure. For example, when you're interviewed on a magazine or a podcast show, a radio show, on TV, or any other media that has an audience that really is targeting your ideal client. So there's mass media and then there's niche media that you can also look at. Usually niche media are so much easier to get access to. So make sure to also consider PR as a wonderful way for you to be able to gain visibility. The next marketing strategy is guest writing or guest blogging or content contribution. So here, you're basically writing or making videos. Most generally, it is about blogging, is writing your blogs for another big blog that is targeting your audience. So if you have an expertise in a certain area, you can offer to become a regular contributor to that platform so that you can show your expertise and you can then grow your own audience. Although that takes some time before you can attract people to be interested in you, you can really gain some visibility by offering your own article or videos to another platform that has access to ideal clients. And the last marketing strategy is all the paid types of marketing strategies, like paid advertising, paid stand on a trade fair, and sponsoring. So everything that has to do with paying so that you can get access to your audience. So here it starts by knowing where is that audience, and if you feel like that is a perfect place for your audience, but if it's not free, then consider paying what it requires to be able to get access to them. For example, on social media, if you want to grow your visibility, paying for social media post boosts or promoting your offer on social media might be a good way for you at the end of the day. I'm usually all about organic marketing, but know that you also have this option. If you have the budget for it, then go for it. Pay for the access to the ideal audience that you're looking for. And there's many different ways to do that. It really depends on where is your ideal client and if the platform that they are is actually offering advertising spots or visibility spots in exchange of payment. Obviously, there is rarely a guarantee here, but if you try to gather as much data as you can in terms of return on investment in your industry, that could help you make your decision. Or gather the information from that platform as much as you can, what they can tell you about the quality and the quantity of their audience and the usual data that they have that they can communicate with you. For example, if you're paying for a spot on a newsletter, they can easily tell you what's the open rate of the newsletter and what is the click rate of their newsletter. And those numbers can give you an idea of on whether or not the investment is worth it. So, although there's a ton of marketing strategies out there, I just listed for you the main ones that I think you should consider to make things easy and simple for you. So, for the next step here for you is to choose which one works for you. And for that, first of all, you need to choose the ones where your ideal client is. For example, if you choose networking, you need to figure out if these are the platforms where your ideal clients are. And then you want to listen to your intuition. You want to listen to where it feels good for you to engage and exchange with your ideal client. And if you've never done any of that, you obviously need to start somewhere to know where you feel good, right? So start with one baby step after the other, try things out, and then stick to what works for you. But I think by just listing these strategies, it already removes a little bit of the pressure of having to figure out all the different ways you can do things in terms of marketing strategies. And finally, know that you don't have to do all of them. Actually, I really advise you to not try to do them all. Otherwise, you will get really, really overwhelmed. What you want to do is pick 2 to 3 strategies maximum and stick to them. The key is to be consistent with them. To know if you can get results out of them, you need to stick to it for a little bit to see what is the results you're getting out of those efforts. Which leads me to the third step of this whole process that is in detail in the workbook of this episode. I will ask you to list all the different places where your ideal clients are for each strategy that you choose. So once you choose your strategies, then you will list what are the right places and platforms to go to. For example, let's say that you chose networking. You're going to list all the organizations where the ideal client is, or all the events where your ideal client is. If you choose speaking engagements, you're going to list all the places where you could speak. If you chose podcasting or PR, you're going to list all the media and podcast shows where your ideal client is consuming that content. So that's the third step for you to do. And if by any chance you don't know at all where are these platforms and what are these podcast shows, etc., then it's time for you to do a little bit of research by Googling or by talking to an ideal client and asking them what are these platforms that they go to. I give you more details and guidance, even an Excel sheet to help you organize this information inside the workbook if you're in that situation where you need to do that research. And then, as I said before, once you chose all that platforms, now all you have to do is to reach out and start implementing consistently instead of trying and doing everything at once. It's all about simplifying and choosing what works for you. All right, Nomad Nation. So I shared with you my key tips here. To implement these tips, go to tandemnomads.com/273 and download your workbook where I give you the step-by-step process to do that, as well as some of the extra resources that might be needed according to in which situation you are. I can't wait to hear your feedback and what are the strategies that worked for you. And to reach me, all you have to do is to answer the email. Once you download your workbook, you'll have my email address, or DM me in my Instagram account on the handle Tandem Nomads. Can't wait to hear from you, and stay tuned to turn your challenges into great opportunities.